Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys. My name is Christy. I'm a part of the HeadSpin team, and I'll be taking a webinar on unlocking the power of Appium. So it's going to be a very uh, normal webinar. It's probably a talk, to be honest, on how Appium can be utilized, and it will be compared to some of the other famous automation frameworks. Basically, we'll be focusing on mobile frameworks, mobile test frameworks, and not every other framework. So a quick round of introductions. My name is Christy. I'm a part of the senior sales engineering team at HeadSpin. I work to help anyone who'd want to in like integrate their frameworks or use any of the tools to automate or even test their application using HeadSpin or any HeadSpin. That's a cloud platform. Now, today's agenda would be majorly introducing you to HeadSpin. Then we'll be focusing on some of the basic test automation frameworks and what the test automation actually is. And we'll be comparing some popular frameworks. Then we'll have a quick capability countdown and some additional features of Appium itself. And we'll be talking about how Appium is compared to the rest of the other frameworks and how we can actually utilize Appium. Starting off, we'll be talking about HeadSpin. Now, HeadSpin is a digital experience platform. Basically, it'll help you get any of your uh, cloud testing. Uh, Hi. So basically, HeadSpin is a cloud platform that helps you run any automation tools or manual test cases on our platform. We give you real devices all across the world, and you can use them to get your tests done. And we give you insights into those tests. We have like this four-pillar strategy over here, wherein the first pillar means global device infrastructure. So global device infrastructure basically means that we have devices all across the world, around 60 plus countries worldwide, and these are all actual data centers in which we house real devices. We have test automation APIs, and which you can actually utilize to run your test cases on our devices, control those devices, and get more in-depth feedback from those test cases that you run. Now, the third pillar is performance, QoE, or quality of experience, and machine learning. Here, once you run any of the test cases that we have with the APIs and our tools, you get insights into those particular test cases as session reports. Now, the session reports would contain some root cause analysis of the test that you've done, and it will also give you how well the app performed in those particular use cases. Insights into actions is the last pillar. Now here we have an ML algorithm that runs in the background. It analyzes the entire test sessions that you run and gives you insights into what exactly happened. Like if there are any loading animation in your test cases, if that test case has a lot of client errors, and what you can actually do with those particular issues themselves. And we also have a dedicated dashboard that can give you a more holistic view of the entire test suite itself. Now, we use proprietary hardware called as the P box. It's a proxy box which contains Linux or Mac Mini hosts that connects any Android or iOS devices. We also have desktop browsers as well as OTT devices like Android TVs, Google TVs, Fire Sticks, Roku, or even Apple TVs. We even deal with actual televisions themselves, like the Samsung Dyson OS TVs, as well as LG WebOS. And as you can see, just below the HeadSpin P box, we have a HeadSpin AV box. It's an audio video box that basically lets you record any DRM-based content. So when you're trying to test out video-specific applications, you can use this to get any DRM production content captured so that you can actually view the content later. And on the right-hand side, you can actually see the uh, HeadSpin UI itself. This is where you can do your testing, deal with or use all of the devices that you'd want, and actually get the API calls running. Now, here, I'll be talking about what the test automation frameworks are. What exactly is test automation? Now, test automation is basically something that you do to help you uh, get more time utilized by not involving yourself in manual test cases. And you can actually automate test cases for particularly repetitive actions. For example, you have your app, you have a mobile application, and majorly you'll be testing out, say, launching the app, logging into it. If it's a retail app, you'll be searching for an item, adding to a cart. If it's a banking app, you'll be checking if particular statement is loaded up or if a particular card page comes up, right? So these actions can be written into code or scripts, or there are certain tools that you can actually use to record that particular actions. With that action, you can run them on a set of devices instead of you having to personally open up a device, run it yourself each and every time. You can have it set in a way where it runs on say 10 or tens or hundreds of devices, and you can actually see if that test script works on one build. And when you have a newer build, you can do the same thing on that as well. So it accelerates any test cases automatically. So that's the first point. Second is it reduces manual testing efforts, basically by writing your own scripts and getting them run on any of the devices that you want. New devices that comes up, you can run it over them. And it allows for continuous testing for faster feedback and release cycle. So any newer builds it comes up, you can just modify the code slightly so that it accommodates the newer build itself, and then you can test your already written script on newer devices or newer code. What exactly is mobile automation and why is it required? Now, mobile automation, at this day and age, you really need it because every action that you perform, there must be an application for it, right? There must be a mobile app, be it an iOS or an Android app. So technically, you do need to test those application out to find out if it works well on one device and if it works on, say, 100 more different devices. Say if I take iOS, for instance, you have 3, 4 iOS releases in a single day. So you have the iPhone mini, you have the normal iPhone, the iPhone Pro, and the iPhone Pro Max. So you need to make sure that the application that you release for one of the iPhones works for the rest of it as well. And you don't really buy a new iPhone each and every time, right? Some people might use their older iPhones, maybe. Some people still use the iPhone 6s. So you need to make sure the application works on the older version versus the newer one. Now, when it comes to Android, you basically have tens to hundreds of different variants of the OS itself. You have you have say Android's, sorry, Samsung's One UI, then you have HyperOS for Xiaomi. So any kind of mobile operation or operating system that you use, you'd want to test if it actually works on that particular OS. And then there's the versions of Android that it runs on. There's Android 14, 15, that's the latest one. And then there's previous versions of Android, which people don't really update or the manufacturer doesn't give you an update for. So in those cases, you would need your application to work well on older devices as well as newer devices and older hardware as well. So that's where mobile automation comes in. You do your test case or the similar test case on all the variety of devices that you have, and then you ensure that the app actually works. This is where mobile automation comes in. Now, how exactly can you test your application? So there's a lot of frameworks that you can use. There's Espresso, there's XCUI, test or XCUITest, there's Playwright, there's Flutter, Appium, and then there's Detox. There's even more frameworks out there, but I'll be talking more about these at hand right now, since it will be a very broadened view set, and I'll be talking about more of the most famous ones. These are probably the most famous testing tools out there. Espresso is the test case which basically runs natively on Android devices. So if you've worked with Android Studio and if you've worked with React Native applications, you'll probably have seen Espresso or even Compose test cases. So you can connect any of your Android devices or even spin up your own emulator on Android Studio and get test cases running over there. And you must have heard Flutter. Flutter is the new it's a very new testing, not just a testing framework. It's actually an app building framework wherein you can build any Flutter-based applications with just one source code. You can have like an iOS, an Android, or even a web-based application setup. It has a lot of interesting tools. It's a great tool to start your app development cycle, and it has an inbuilt automation tool as well. The only problem with Flutter is that you can't really test out any other frameworks, and it's very tied down to the Flutter ecosystem itself. Then you have XCUITest. Anyone that's ever built an iOS application knows that you can test your iOS apps using XCUITest. It's only for iOS. It's very tightly integrated into the Apple's ecosystem. So you need a developer account, you need an IPA, you need the UDID of or the device ID of the app, iOS or iPhone device for you to test your application. It's a very like strictly tied down test suite, but it's still there. Then we have Playwright. Again, it's majorly used to test out the web applications, but recently there has been some movement in getting Playwright running on Android devices. Not really on iOS devices, but there's like an experimental support for Android. And last but not least is Detox. Again, basically running on React Native applications, and you need like a physical connection for the device to run detox scripts. So that's an overall picture of some of the automation frameworks. Appium, I'll be talking a lot more on the next slides. Appium is an open source framework. It has a very large community that's backing it, and it can basically do test cases on iOS, Android, or even web applications as well. This is supposed to be web, not Windows. Bad. And you can use Appium to run your test case on any frameworks, and you can install any application and do your test case just like that. You just have to write an Appium code. The only thing that you need is an IDE, a language that you're okay with, like maybe Python, Java, JavaScript, and then you need the Appium client installed on your laptop. So the Appium client can be installed on Mac, Windows, or even your Linux machines. And once that's done, you need like a Appium server running, which connects to a device. Now, the biggest advantage of Appium when you compare it to other frameworks is that you can literally run it on any device, and you can have it run on any host. So how your scripts connects to the device to that particular device is through the Appium WebDriver URL. Now, with that, you can have like a device that's in your friend's place, and you want to test that device out. You can literally run your script from your laptop and get it running over there just because it has the Appium server and connects using the WebDriver URL. So it uses an IP port uh, to get the devices connected. So it's really easy to connect to any device. So that's why major cloud-based device farms uses Appium as its base. Even HeadSpin uses Appium Appium servers on our host so that you can connect to it very seamlessly. And you can connect real devices, emulators in cloud-based devices, in fact. And there's like a high there's like an ease of use for Appium just because it supports a lot of languages. So it supports Java, Python, TypeScript, JavaScript, and even Ruby. I think that you can even run it on C hash. Now, another thing is that it works with different kinds of applications as well. You can run it on native applications, hybrid applications, and even on Flutter-based applications. There's a Flutter Appium driver that's available that you can actually use to run your scripts over there. There's even a new plugin which I just saw that can run on Espresso. It can basically link Espresso scripts to Appium as well. So yeah, you can actually that. And then the non-invasive uh, like approach that Appium takes. Any application that you install, it works on an element-based strategy wherein you can open your application and you can see all of the all of the say elements that can be interacted with on a screen, and you can just select those particular elements and then get the element strategy out of that. Write your code using those element strategies and then run them in a way where it actually interacts with it. Unlike, say, Espresso or XCUITest, where you actually need the build of those applications, like for example, an AEB file for Android or the IPA file itself before it's actually built in in the Xcode in Xcode for iOS testing. So if you want to run XCUITest case, you need Xcode and you need the application build to actually run it. Now, it works seamlessly with any, say, CI tools, so Jenkins, Circle CI, GitLabs. You just need the actual Appium code to get those scripts running. So these are the major advantages that you have with Appium. Now let's talk about how it actually compares to different, different tools itself. So here, when you compare it to say Espresso or XCTest, These require a physical connection of the test device on your platform, or you can only run it on, say, an emulator. Because you need a physical connection, the major disadvantage is that you can't really scale your test cases unless you have a lot of machines and you have those machines rigged in a way where it can run those scripts. Now, when it comes to Appium, you can have like a different hosts running, say, Appium servers, and you can have a load balancer setup wherein you just run them over there. All cloud platforms, including HeadSpin, we have a load balance setup, and you can actually run, say, hundreds of test cases from just one single machine. That's the biggest advantage because it's all connected using the WebDriver URL. And we even have like a load balancer URL wherein you can select particular devices just by using a selector. For instance, you would want to run your test case on only Samsung devices. What you can do is you can just set the selector as manufacturer and set the manufacturer as Samsung. And when you run a script, you can basically run it on, say, 100 Samsung devices at the same time. So that's the biggest advantage of Appium when you compare it to the Espresso or even XCUITest cases. Another advantage is the way Appium uses capabilities. Anyone that has very basic scripting knowledge can write their own Appium script. I even have an example script so that we can actually take a look at it and we can even dissect it. So this is a simple unit test case that just opens the settings app on a Samsung device and just goes to the connection settings and just turns the Wi-Fi toggle on and off. Here you can see I have a few imports. I've written this script in unit test. So you can see that's why I imported unit test. Sys is basically just to get arguments out of inside my terminal. And then comes the actual uh, format of writing an Appium script. You need a set of capabilities. Now it's options. So I've gotten these capabilities into the options section over here as UI automated options. And if you look at the capabilities, it's pretty straightforward. You need the UID, that's the device ID itself. Device name, you can ignore that. You can have a default name for this. You have automation name. In this case, since I'm running it on an Android device, I'm using UI automated tool. If it's iOS, it's XCUITest. You have the platform name over here, Android app package and app activity is the application that you want to run. And you have HeadSpin specific capabilities over here. Like in this case, it's wait for available timeout. This is another added advantage of HeadSpin, I mean Appium, wherein you can have customized capabilities added into your code, and you can call them very easily just by using a key value pair like one that you're using right now. New command timeout just uh, waits for 60 seconds. In this case, 60 seconds for a command to come through the Appium host or Appium server. Then again, you have two additional HeadSpin specific capabilities like the capture and the control log. Capture capability is a unique feature of HeadSpin, wherein it records the session of whatever is run in the test case itself, and it gives you how that particular application or the test used the device's usage or what were the API calls that were made at that time. And then it gives you insights into those test sessions. I can show you a small session report which those tests is actually run. And then you can see control log. Again, another HeadSpin capability wherein you can, while the test script is being run, you can still interact with the device. And then there's auto launch and then no reset. Auto launch basically tells you that whenever a driver is being called, it launches application. And no reset when it's false would reset the application. Now, after you set the capabilities, you have the option section over here, basically calling the driver that connects to the device. So here you can see self.driver as webdriver.remote and has the self.url and options equal options. Options majorly has the capabilities over here. You can see options equal to automated options, load capabilities as caps. Now, these are the two things that connects your remote device to the Appium server itself. And once that's done, we can start writing the script. Since unit test case follows the setup, test, tear down strategy. First is the setup, you initialize the connection. Next is the test itself, wherein you can see I've written a small code where it opens the connections option over here. And I've clicked on it, go to the Wi-Fi section and just clicked on the Wi-Fi network. It's very simple code. You can see it's just waiting for a particular presence of an element. I'm using explicit wait and not implicit wait. So that's why you can see this over here. You can see the Android automator clicking the connections option over here, clicking on it, and going into the Wi-Fi options, and again clicking on it once and twice over here. I can actually execute the script very easily just by going into my terminal here and just typing in Python 3 and see basic Appium without API. This is the device ID, and this is how the WebDriver URL looks like for the HeadSpin devices over here. And you can actually see the device as well. So I'll be running it on, say, the Samsung S10 that's sitting in Sunnyvale, US. So what I'll have to do is just click enter, and in a few seconds, you will be able to see that the script will execute. And once it starts, you'll see that the start icon over here changes to a magnifying glass icon and a stop icon. That means the test is connected and it will run the whole test case where it opens the settings app. Just make sure it's running. Yeah, you can see the devices. This is the device is connected, and you can see the magnifying glasses come up. It's a very small test script. It actually opened the settings app very quickly, and it went to the connections option and just turned the Wi-Fi on and off. That's it. So that's how easy it is to actually run a test script. And once that's done, you can actually see the report that's generated at HeadSpin. Because we haven't really gone into the network calls or any network related data, uh, it just gives you some of the device specific KPIs, like say the net CPU usage, memory usage, the battery drain, all those. I even have an example session that has the network calls. Now here you have the video of the recording, you have all of the device level details, you even have all of the network API calls captured. And on the left-hand side, these are the insights into those particular actions, like say low page content loading animations in real hung method. So this is how you can run your test scripts on the HeadSpin using Appium. Now, the next part is some key capabilities that HeadSpin offers, Appium offers. So Appium, with the release of Appium 2.0, it has like a modular design. So it introduced a new concept called as plugins. So plugins can be customized code that you can actually install and use with Appium. Like for instance, I've talked about how you can use load balancer run say different SKUs on different devices, right? A popular plugin currently available is the Appium device farm plugin. Now, the Appium device farm plugin basically connects any devices from say uh, your laptop, cloud devices into just one space, and gives you some reports just by running the test cases. And you can even use selectors from that particular Appium device farm to say select a particular device. HeadSpin has its own load balancer, and but again, Appium device farm is one example. Another one say is OCR testing, or say um, execute script. Now, execute script is a very useful plugin wherein you can basically run multiple commands at the same time so that your execution time is greatly reduced. So that's another great plugin that you can actually use. Now, the driver extensions are some another additional advantage of say using Appium, wherein not only can you run your script on different kinds of devices, you can actually have a script run on two different devices at the same time. What I ideally, what it means is that when you have an Android device and you want to make a call from an Android device to an iOS device, you can do that because it uses a driver method wherein you can have two different drivers that connects to two different devices. So say your test case is using uh, a video calling app. You must have just created a video calling app, and you'd want to test how well the video quality is when you do the video call from an Android device to an iOS device, or even vice versa. So how you can do that with an Appium script is you can have two different drivers. Driver one can be UI automated to the device ID for an Android device, and you can have the app and app activity for the Android application. Then you can have a driver number two, which basically has the capabilities for an iOS device. So the platform name could be platform name is iOS. Uh, the bundle ID is the application, the iOS application itself. And then you launch both of these drivers, and you can actually use those drivers in the same script. So you can have a well-versed Python scripter. Go ahead, get two driver setup, and then you can initiate the call. Driver one will call any actions that you'd want to perform on the Android device, and driver two can be the ones on the iOS device. And you can have the same script run parallelly on any pair of Android and iOS-based devices at the same time. This another add benefit of using Appium is you can have just one source code run on, say, both Android and iOS seamlessly. How you, again, the only thing that you need is the elements for the Android or iOS devices. You can use a framework called as PIA, page object model, wherein actions can be written as functions. So an example is you have the login function. And in the login function, the major elements that you want to click are, say you launch the application itself, then you have you launch the application, and the next thing is to say click on the username and password icons, send those commands, send the username and send the password, and just click on sign in. So that's the login flow, right? So launch is one function, entering the say credentials is another function, and clicking on sign in and going to the home page, which is the login process itself, is the third function. So you can have three different functions which contains the locators or the element strategies for Android and iOS written in a way wherein the script itself is an Appium script. You call the launch function. Launch function would have app and app activity for Android, and if it's iOS, it will have the bundle ID. So you can just call the function, basically launches both for Android and iOS, and then you get the credentials added over there. Again, you can have the elements for Android and iOS in the same function, and then you can call them out. And after that, you just have to click on sign in and verify if the launch is done just by getting the last function that's on the phone. So you can have three functions written in a way and executed in a way wherein you have one script, but it runs on both an Android or an iOS device. So again, very nice capability for Appium. And again, I talked about the Appium's extensive capability list. So you can have, say, cloud-based cloud device specific capabilities. Like HeadSpin has a lot of key capabilities like app.id. We have a control lock, which you just saw, and the capture capability. We can even control the network parameters of a particular device as well. So these are some of the key capabilities that you can use with Appium. And again, we have examples like no reset and full reset. Now, Appium versus other frameworks. So, as I've talked about, cross-platform compatibility is the key feature of Appium, and it's a very useful feature when you think about it. You can basically have just one kind of automation framework running on any kind of iOS or Android based application, be it hybrid or even a native application. Non-invasive approach essentially means you don't have to dissect your application to get the information done. Next is versatile app support. Uh, so native hybrid web applications all are supported with the help of Appium. Now, customizable plugin and driver support. This is a new feature that came in when Appium 2.0 dropped, and you can basically create your own plugins, just install them on, and then just run your script with those particular plugins. And last but not least is WebDriver URL. The WebDriver URL essentially lets you use the IP and port of the Appium server where it's running on a host, and you can connect those devices over there, and you can run your script from any part of the world, and the script actually runs on the device. So yeah, this was a small talk on how Appium can be utilized to run your test scripts and how it actually is more advantageous when it compared to other kinds of frameworks. So I'm in the floor to any questions. If there are any. See. Appium user scripts, can we use record and play? So record and playback is when you actually click on certain elements, and then when you record those whole interactions, then you can actually play those actions on another device and just make it work, right? There are some tools that uses Appium in the background to do the same thing. You must have heard about Tosca, LeapWorks, or even XLQ. These actually use Appium in the background, and you can record your actions over there and just play them back. Uh, Next is, can we use a single script for all OS for Appium? Yes, I've talked about how you can actually use the same uh, script for both Android and iOS. So you can basically do that, yes. How does Appium handle app management? If the question was to say install an application on any of the devices, you can use Appium's app capability, wherein you can just give it the path for where the application is and then get the app install on the device. Pretty straightforward. On WebOS and LG driver, I can try. So yeah, I can actually give you a small glimpse of how you can actually use WebOS and the LG driver. Essentially, it mimics the remote navigation using the driver capability to run your scripts over there. But I can try. I can try giving like a run with LG WebOS. Any other questions? Any cloud service like Source Labs or Browser Stack? Yeah. Again, Appium uses uh, like the WebDriver URL to run your test case over there, right? So the biggest advantage is the way you can actually use the same script to run on any cloud platform. It's very minimal changes that you have to make. The only things that you'd have to change would be the API calls itself and maybe the cloud-based capabilities. You can run your Appium-based Python, Appium-based Java, or even Appium-based JavaScript, or even a robot framework with that's using Appium library on any of the cloud-based platforms very seamlessly. The only differences would be the API calls that they use. But it's easy, simple. The only technical knowledge that you'd want is some basic Appium scripting and some like very basic languages, like the for loops, ifs, and how we can actually use functions. That's it. Super simple. Again, and another advantage is say cloud devices just need a WebDriver URL and they can connect the devices and you can run the scripts over there. Uh, XCUITest and Espresso requires a physical connection, which is kind of hard to do. You would need the scripts on a particular host that you'd want to run them on. So might have to install certain dependencies on all the hosts it's running. So scalability is a very finicky factor when it comes to other tools. Appium doesn't have that disadvantage. For interactions, do you use Appium Inspector? Yes. So HeadSpin does use Appium Inspector. So here, if I go to any of the remote devices, you just have to use say the Appium Inspector on any of the devices that you have. And again, you can literally use Chrome Inspect to get any of the Chrome elements on, say, web-based applications. So say you're testing out how well your website loads up on a mobile device. What you can do is you can just go to Chrome. Uh, Not sure if I have Chrome. You just have to go to Chrome and go to that particular website and just click inspect, and you can use the same elements on an Appium script. Right? Oh, sorry. So this is how you can actually use Appium Inspector. If it's actually pushed and installed from test flight, so this actually, I'm not sure what the exact question is. The thing is, once an app is actually pushed and installed, you basically run the script using the app package and app activity. Sorry, if it's test flight, it's iOS. You just use the bundle ID to call the application. So if you look at the actual Appium script, right, you can see I have app package and app activity. If I don't give any app package or app activity for Android, it just goes to the home page of the device. If I change it to any of the apps that's already installed, it launches that application. You don't have to have, say, the app capability always set up with the say path to it, say home paste. .apk. You don't have to have the APK file always installed on the test script system. You can run any scripts on any application that's even pre-built into the device itself. So newer builds of the test flight, it's fine. You just have to give the app package and app identity for Android, bundle ID for iOS. That's it. And there's also a neat trick. I'm not sure if people have seen this, but in Appium you can record uh, like flight interaction. So here, if I click on start recording, you can just click on one of the elements and just interact with it. Say I tap on network and internet. It's a tiny bit slow, but you can do it. And if I go to the sim options, again, tap on it. If I go to the record option, you can actually get those elements and its interactions over here. And you can even select the language that you want and just get like a full-blown like test script right here. And then the neat, I'm not sure which version of Appium Inspector has it, but the newer versions do. You can actually have that. You can even have gestures set up. So say you want to pinch to zoom, you can have go to gestures, add a new gesture, and just mark the points on what you have to do. So if you want to zoom, you just select the action, say pointer down. That means you have to put the pointer somewhere. If I click on it, and then the next one action is to move the pointer here. Sorry, I'm actually trying to click on somewhere else. The pointer down, put the pointer over here, and click on move. And you have to move it to here, for example. And then the next option would be maybe pointer up, and then just sort of actually done. So you can use all of those features on using App Inspector, and again, it's already inbuilt into the HeadSpin UI. Any other questions? Hmm, iOS passcode requirement and how was it handled within Appium automation script? Ah, that's a great question that you've asked. Now, iOS with pin lock can actually be unlocked using our pin tag capability. Not passcode itself, uh, pin codes. So any numerical code, passwords that you set up, you can actually unlock. So there's actually an option called as pin tag. Needs a specific hardware. It's called blue finger hardware that's set up in our host. Android has it by default, but iOS needs a physical hardware. It's like a Bluetooth enabled device. And you can handle that using our capability. So we have like an extensive capability list that you can actually use to unlock the device each and every time. So yeah, we definitely handle that in those capabilities. I tried to load up the documentation section for it so that you can actually see you can use it. The automation mapping capabilities and you see that the curl command to unlock the device. Uh, Not sure why that is. We have the Appium pin tab system over here. Uh, if you can just send it out to help desk, we can actually take a look at that. Like why exactly the pin tab cable is not working. Is it for an iOS or an Android device, if I may ask? iOS. Probably something to do with the blue finger thing, but just send out like a help desk ticket and we'll take care of it. Not to worry. Um, with the new security feature from iOS, I'm not really aware of what that is. iOS 15 is kind of old. So passcode, if it uses the normal passcodes, kind of hard to do. you must have seen that when you're trying to record a video of the barcode, it just gives you a blank screen. So in those, that's where we have the pin code setup, where any numerical keys that gets it unlocked using the API. Can you elaborate on what exactly is the actual process that you're looking for? Maybe I can help. Don't have a browser compatible application on native devices. Do we need to use Appium browser? Again, question over there. So in by using Appium, you can actually do that. If you're looking to automate, say, web application, you just need to change the context. So Appium has a driver, specifically called as switch context or get context. So get context gives you if the app is actually running natively or if it's running on a web UI. Sorry, my bad. So I'll give you a quick example. So say you go to uh, MyGeo do a recharge on your phone. So even if you go to the MyGeo website, you need to log into that particular website. So you go ahead, you do get XPath, you go to get the maybe CSS selector, just like the Selenium commands. You just need Appium, and you just uh, uh, enter your phone number, and then you have to read the OTP. Now Android and iOS has this auto read OTP feature, right? So when you have to click on the pop-up that comes up, like should you read the messages to get the OTP autofilled? It's actually a native application now. When that happens, you just have to switch context to native. It'll always probably be mostly the first option that comes up, that is switch context, and then you select native, click on allow, and then go back to the WebDriver section. Uh, Hope that was clear. Give you the actual command itself. It's basically self.drive.context that lists out if there's any native or web view elements, and then you can switch to that particular context using drive.switch to dot context. So those are the two commands. Uh, oh yeah, so that's passcode screens. You're facing issue with passcode screen randomly displaying when. Okay, in those scenarios, you can use the pin tab capability. The thing is, you should know when exactly the passcode screen comes up. If it's very random, it's kind of hard to automate because you need to script the flow, right? You can have like try excepts set up in a way wherein if you know that in these places it might come up, you can have the API called at that particular time to unlock the device. That's how we normally handle it, if that makes sense. If you want me to repeat or like tell you how to do it, I'll let you know. Without logging. Yeah, so the scripts itself works using tokens. So you don't really have to log into any box. So say for example, uh, this is this device I'm trying to connect, right? And if I just go to the automation configuration section over here, you can see this is the WebDriver URL. Now here, this is the IP, this is the port, and this is the token that's being used to run the script on. So if this is being recorded and you're actually viewing the token right now, so you can basically run your own script with the same token until and unless I just go to settings over here, and you can see my available token, delete it, and I just create a new one. Now I can't really run the same script. So if I just run the same command again, It just gave me authorization failure. See, but until that token is not removed, you can basically run the script from anywhere. Any other questions? Okay, I'll wait for like 2 more minutes. If there's nothing else, we can call today. I think most of you are Indians, so it's pretty late, right? I myself am Indian. If anyone was like wondering, uh, app over app, you can actually switch between any of your application. There's driver dot open app, I think. If I remember the actual self. So we can just verify. I think it's just driver dot switch app. You can basically have like 3, 4 applications in the background switch to the same app using driver dot switch app. Just a quick Google search. Oh, sorry. I have to use Appium. I'm assuming it's driver dot switch app or activate app opens a app. Again, another open app, close app. These can be used. I thought there was something on a switch app too, but yeah, you can use Activate app. It just goes to the app that's present over there. You just have to get the app package over here. Another key feature of Appium, a large community that can help you in answering most of the questions. Okay, then, if there aren't any more questions, we can call it a day. I hope everyone enjoyed this small talk on how to use Appium and how well Appium actually integrates and what are the key advantages of using Appium. Hope everyone is fascinated by Appium and writes their own script. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Good night. Bye bye.